So the text started with, the second part of the text started with that statement that Atma is the truth and all the other things are unreal. So then the next question is, how is everything unreal? So then what is Atma? So the definition of Atma is given, but it also defines what is not Atma. So we understood the components which are not Atma, of which the three bodies, then the five koshas as we call them, the five sheaths, and then the three states of existence. So it says Atma is none of these. So then again the question is, what are these? So again the text explains each aspect. So we started off with, so the first section of this particular part we can say is the study of the microcosm. In technical terms in Sanskrit we call it as Vyashti Vichara, the understanding of the microcosm. So first we understood what is the physical body of which we are aware. So what it consists of, what it is made up of, what is the role, how do we get this, what is the conditions under which we get this physical body, we understood. The second body that we started looking at is the Sukshma Sharira, or the subtle body. Again we, under the definition of subtle body, we understand that it consists of 17 elements. The 17 elements in the form of 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas, the mind and the intellect. So 5, 5, 5, 15 plus 2, the mind and the intellect. So this subtle body, Sukshma Shariram, is made up of this 17 elements. So we also, in the last class, we understood what are the organs of perception, and each of them has a presiding deity. Then the organs of action, that also we went through, the 5 organs of action, and the presiding deities for each of these 5 organs of action. We also know there are 5, the text mentions about the 5 pranas. So today let us, though the text actually doesn't give the names of these pranas or what is the function of these pranas, just for our added information we can understand a little more about these pancha pranas, as they call them, the 5 pranas. Now what are these 5 pranas? The first one is called as prana itself. The second one is called as apana. The third one is called as vyana. The fourth one is called as samana. And the fifth one is called as udana. So these are the 5 pranas which help this system to work, you can say. So now let us briefly again understand each of these pranas. The first prana is the first prana is also called as prana, which is basically your respiratory system. So the prana which takes care of the respiratory system, it's called as prana. The second prana is called as apana. Apana basically controls the excretory system, because it's a very important function. So one is to eliminate all the waste that we develop in this body. So apana is a very important vayu or prana. So prana and apana always oppose each other. The prana is at the top and the apana is at the bottom because it controls the excretory system. So these two pranas are always at loggerheads, or you can say they are opposing each other. The prana tends to draw up and the apana tends to pull down. So these two continuously happen all the time, and it is good that they always disagree, because the moment they agree, the prana goes out of the body, and that means the body becomes dead. So these two, as long as they are fighting each other, we are alive. So sometimes we will find that when the apana is very strong, the thinking faculty of the mind comes down. You will observe, in fact, when we need to use the washroom, the toilet, when we are in a very urgent state of using the washroom, and when we evacuate, at that time you will be in a very, very calm state. The mind will be very relaxed. You will not feel like doing anything for some time, but at the same time the mind will not be active. You cannot do anything creative or this thing at that time, because the mind is just relaxed. It doesn't. The other way around, if your prana is very strong, you will find that you will have problems like constipation, because your apana becomes weak. So ideally these two should be balanced, because we need both these functions very critically for our existence. So that is what in yoga we do pranayama, so that we can balance these two. So that is what is the role of prana and apana. Now the third one is called as vyana. Vyana is the circulatory system. So whatever energy we get, that has to be circulated throughout the body. So the role of this particular prana called vyana is to circulate this energy. Now the energy that we get, there are two forms. Like for example, the food that we take, there is a gross part of the food and there is a subtle part. The gross part goes to the body, the subtle part goes to the mind. That is why we observe certain foods. Of course, mostly we consume food thinking of the body, but we never realize that food plays a very important part on the mind also. When we take certain types of food, physically you feel good, but you may not feel so good. You take some heavy food, you will find that the mind becomes very dull, you feel sleepy. So the subtle part of the food goes to the mind. So if the subtle part of the food is not conducive for the mind, then the mind becomes dull. Later we will also understand more about these things, because the text will definitely answer many of these questions. So the food also, so the subtle part of everything is what circulates by the prana. So vyana is one which circulates the energy to all the parts of the body. Coming to samana. Samana is the prana which works on the digestive system. So it breaks the digestive juices and gives the subtle part to the Sukshma Sharira, and the gross part goes to the Sthula Sharira, which is the physical body. And the fifth prana, it's called as Udana prana. It's a very special prana. It is designed as a defensive mechanism. It becomes active when we take something which is not good for our system. So it acts in the form of vomiting, sneezing. So whichever the body is, whichever is not good for the body, the Udana prana ensures that it is ejected out. So it's a very special, it works only when the system is not functioning as it should. So it's like a watch guard. The moment something comes in which is not conducive for our body, it immediately functions and it throws it out. It also has another important role, they say, at the time of death. At the time of death, all the pranas leave one by one. The Udana prana collects all these other 4 pranas and it's like a courier, it removes, it is the one which gets ejected out. So at the time of death, Udana prana is the last one to leave, taking all the other pranas with it. So that is why even medically sometimes the person is dead, but still there will be some little warmth in the body. It takes a little while for all the, so when all the pranas, it's like a packer, this thing. So the Udana prana is collecting all the other pranas within itself, and then finally when it leaves, the body becomes cold. So these are the roles of the 5 pranas in the, which exist in the Sukshma Sharira, as we understand. Now we have covered the 5 organs of perception, the 5 organs of action, and the 5 pranas. The next one is, what is the mind? So the question is asked, Manomaya kaha? Sorry. So what is the mind? The mind is nothing but the doubting faculty, you can say. Because the mind always creates doubt, whether to do this or to do that. So the mind also, like a pendulum, always oscillates. That is the nature of the mind, that is the function of the mind, to have a doubt about everything. It raises a doubt on everything. Should we do this? Should we do that? Should we eat this? Should we eat that? So the doubting part is called as the mind. Then the next is, what is the intellect? The one which is definite, it's called as the intellect. Because intellect is something which is already, you can say, the one which is sure. There is no doubt. So whatever the mind brings, the intellect gives the information whether to do something or not. Suppose you have a doubt, okay, whether this is good or that is good. The intellect will, based on the information it already has accumulated between these 2 objects, the intellect will say, choose this. So the Nishchayatmika means the one which is sure is called as the intellect. The one which is doubting is called as the mind. The mind also carries the emotions. So the role of the mind has 2 parts. One is the doubting and the second one is the emotion. So it has got 2 roles, the emotional role and the doubting role. While the intellect is decisive and it is also the rational faculty. So these two are called as Karana, the inner instruments. In some texts you may also find two more inner instruments added to these two. One is the memory, which is called Chitta, and the other one is called ego, Ahankara. So these are also in some texts considered as part of this Karana or the inner instruments. So with this we have covered all the 17 elements that consist that are part of the subtle body. So these 17 instruments are the ones which makes this subtle body function. Now the next question is, let us move on to the next body, which is called as Karana Shariram, or the causal body. So the question is, Karana Shariram Kim? What is the causal body? The definition given is Anirvacha Anadi Avidya Rupam Sharira Dvayasya Karana Matram Satswarupa Jnanam Nirvikalpa Rupam Yadasti Tat Karana Shariram. So this is the definition given for the causal body, the Karana Shariram. Now we need to understand what this means. Now, like the other bodies, we have to understand this particular body in terms of condition, cause, function and nature. Now, to understand the Karana Shariram, we need to understand the law of this nature, the law of nature basically. The law of nature says matter can not be created nor destroyed. It can be converted from one form to another. So matter can never be created nor can it be destroyed completely. You can change it from one form to another. So that is what science also accepts, because we cannot make anything new other than what is available. For example, a carpenter can make a table. He can shape the wood in a particular way. It's the same wood. He cannot add anything on his own. To fix the pieces, he can use some nails, which is again part of what is available. So there is nothing new. So the wood is changed into a chair or a table. It just changes form, but it remains wood. So that is very clear that nothing can be created, nor something, if you break the table again it becomes wood. So it cannot be changed. It can only change the form. So that is the first thing we need to understand about that is the law of nature. So the whole creation, as they say. Now how this word creation creates a lot of doubts. When was this creation? When did this happen? Who created? When did it come into existence? Before that, what was there? Actually, there is nothing called creation. That is what it says. The Karana Shariram is Anadi. Anadi means it is endless. It has always been there. And it will continue to be there. But it can come to an end depending on how we want. That is, we will come to that later. So it's beginningless. So if you say beginningless, then creation means there is a particular time when something is, it is dependent on time. At a particular time there was nothing and then something was created. But Anadi means it's always been there. So actually what we call as creation is just manifestation. It, like there is a seed. Inside the seed, suppose you take a mango seed. The mango tree exists in the seed in potential form. So it is in unmanifest form. Once the seed grows into a tree, we see it in the manifest form. The same thing with creation. What we see now is the manifest form. At a particular time, we call it as pralayam in our scriptures, where everything becomes unmanifest. It's dissolution. So nothing gets destroyed. So it becomes unmanifest, and then at a particular time again it manifests. So that is what this Karana Shariram is all about. It is an unmanifest part of us. It is the cause for the two bodies. The Sthula Shariram and the Sukshma Shariram are born. That is why it is called as the causal body. So by itself it does not have a cause because it is always there. But it is the cause for the two bodies. So how does it exist? It is similar to the seed. In a mango seed, for example, again, the mango tree exists in a potential form. We cannot see it. You cannot break the seed and see, okay, inside do I see a mango tree? Same thing, what is inside this causal body cannot be seen. It is in a potential form. When it becomes manifest, we see. So our understanding of the Sthula Shariram or the physical body is more because it is gross. We can see, we can feel it, we can see the different parts. So our knowledge of the physical body is very good because we know, we can see. Coming to the Sukshma Sharira, our knowledge is lesser because it is something which is not seen, but we can feel, when we use the mind, we know it is part of the Sukshma Sharira. We are able to get some idea about the Sukshma Sharira, though we are not able to see it. Coming to the causal body, we cannot see it, we cannot understand it because it is in potential form. So causal body is something which is not available for any experience or at any time. So that is why the idea of a causal body is not very clear to all of us. But the causal body ensures that we have a physical and a, see, even in a mango tree, the mango again contains the seed. When we plant the mango tree, depending on what type, variety of mango, the tree comes up. Suppose you have a Alfonso mango seed, it will only, out of that only the Alfonso mango tree will grow. You will not have a Banganapalli mango growing out of that. So it is very specific. And even among all the trees, each tree is different. The size of the tree varies. Even if you take the same variety, same thing with us. So that is why the cause is the causal body, but what comes out is dependent on the conditions for the physical body and the causal and the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body, which we have understood already. What conditions are required for these two bodies. So Karana Shariram is once again the cause for both these bodies. It is also called as avidya or ignorance, because the causal body is not subject to any kind of it is not possible to verify it. It is you can say there is complete ignorance when it comes to the causal body, because by itself there is nothing in the causal body which can be understood. It's a little complicated, but if we understand the other two bodies, we can understand there is a root cause for these two bodies, which is the causal body. The root cause is the causal body. And what happens during pralayam, the unmanifest condition, the other two bodies become part of the causal body. They get drawn into the causal body, and that alone exists. And once again manifestation happens, these two bodies again they come out, depending on. So the journey continues. It goes on and on. The same cycle goes on and on and on. The causal body is always there, was always there. But will this causal body come to an end? So definitely there is an end to this causal body. The causal body will end the moment we attain moksha. That is what the whole goal about our human endeavor is about. The moment you attain moksha, because the cause for ignorance goes. So once you are not ignorant, ignorance and knowledge cannot be together. If there is ignorance, there is no knowledge. If there is no knowledge, there is no ignorance. So once knowledge happens, automatically the causal body ceases to exist, which means there is no cause for rebirth. So this is what the causal body is all about. It's a little difficult for us to understand, but as we progress in our understanding, we can, because unlike the other two bodies, there is no way we can understand the causal body. Again, when we go to the next part of the text, we will understand the three states: the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. Each of these states is related to one particular body. The waking state is related to the physical body. We will be seeing that is what is the next question going to be. The dream state is connected to the subtle body, and the deep sleep state is connected to the causal body. Because in deep state, sleep state, you are not aware of anything. But when you wake up, you remember that you are not aware of anything. So knowing that you are not aware of anything itself is knowledge. So that is what happens when you are in the causal body. So that is what is the deep sleep state. Now let us move to the three bodies have been covered so far. The Sthula Sharira, which is the physical body, Sukshma Sharira, which is the subtle body consisting of the 17 elements, and then the causal body, which is the Karana Sharira. So again going back to the definition of Atma, it is distinct from these three bodies. So that is what was given at the beginning. So we have understood that these three are not Atma, because even the Atma is Anadi. Like you can say, okay, Karana Sharira is also beginningless. Atma is also beginningless. So can Atma be equivalent to the Karana Sharira? The difference is there is an end to the Karana Sharira, but there is no end to the Atma. So that we will understand as we know more about what is not Atma. So the next question is Avastha Trayam Kim. What are the three states of experience? The answer is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushuptavastha. So the three states are the waking state, Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, which is the dream state, and the deep sleep state, Sushupti Avastha, which is the deep sleep state. So these are the three states of experience. Now again we need to understand each of these states. What is the role of each of these states? So automatically the next question is Jagrat Avastha Ka. What is Jagrat Avastha or the waking state? The answer given is Shotradi Jnanendriyai Shabdadi Vishaya Jnananta iti Yatsa Jagrat Avastha Stula Sharirabhi Manyatma Vishwa Ichuchyate. So this is the definition given, which can be understood as waking state is a state wherein the objects of cognition like sound or etc. Sound means we are talking about all the other four also, are recognized by the organs of perception, such as the ear. So each object of cognition is understood by the corresponding organ. For sound, the ear is. So we can extend that to the other four also. And it says I, me or I, identifying with this gross body is called as Vishwa. When the gross body identifies with the Atma, it is called as Vishwa. So this is the definition given. So we know about the Jagrat Avastha or the waking state. All the organs are available. We are able to perceive, we are able to see, we are able to understand. So this is the state where we interact with the world. All these things are available for interaction with the outside world. So there's nothing very difficult for us to understand because it is very obvious. So when we are awake at this moment, we are communicating with each other. We are perceiving all the objects. We are hearing all the sounds. So everything is available, and based on that, we make our decisions and we go about our duties based on the waking state. Whatever duties we do, we go about them. The next is Swapnavastha Kaha. What is the dream state? The dream state is Swapnavastha Keti Chejagrada vasthayam yadrishtam yachutam tajjanita vasanaya nidra samaye yah prapancha pratiyate sa swapnavastha sukshma sharirabhi manyatma taijas ichuchate. So this is the definition, which means that world which is recognized, projected by the impression born out of what we have seen, heard during the waking state while in sleep. So the dreams that we get are purely based on whatever we hear, see, perceive, experience during our waking state. But the dream state doesn't follow any particular sequence. It is not that today we saw something and immediately the same thing appears in the dream. It could be a collage of various things over various periods of time which appear in our dream. So we cannot directly correlate any particular event, but some things may trigger off based on our experience during the waking state. So the dream state, our Sukshma Sharira, because in sleep, first the the Sthula Sharira or the physical body becomes unavailable for our perception. In the dream state, the Sukshma Sharira is available. So we make our own world in the Sukshma Sharira because the physical body is not available for any experience. The Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body projects all the events, all the experience that we have had in the waking state in different forms which appear as dream. So that is what is so when the Atma identifying with the subtle body is called as Taijasa. So these are different technical terms or definitions which are given to understand the connection between all these things. So later there will be more, as we go by, the things will become more and more clear, because all these things, though we are aware of the waking state, we are aware of the dream state, but we have never looked upon that in a very, we have not really understood the functions, and because we carry out our work mechanically, we never bother to understand the significance of all these things. But the text only, see, all these things are not unknown to us, especially the waking state, it is known to us. It's only reconfirming the role, the three states of experience. The waking state, which is very obvious to us, we know what happens during the waking state, and in dream state, again, what happens, we are aware, but that is not as clear as what happens during waking state. So why these dreams, what happens, why I got this particular dream, or why I got that particular dream, why some dreams are connected, some dreams are totally unconnected. So all these things we will, some people have this thing to analyze dreams, and based on that they predict a lot of things. But ultimately the dream is just a dream, it's only a projection. We create our own world within our subtle body. In the gross body, the whole world is available to us, the entire external world is available to us for experiencing. But in the subtle body, in dream state, we construct our own world. So that is something which we need to, and why this dream state will help us understand more about ourselves. The very reason for this particular analysis of the dream state is to understand what is reality and what is not real. Because in dream state, you think that is real. If a tiger is chasing you in the dream, you will get scared. Or if you are enjoying some nice thing, you also smile, even in the dream. So at that moment, you don't think, okay, this is a dream, so it is not true. In a dream state, at that moment when you are dreaming, you feel that is real. So it is just to show, the dream state shows the actual reality. So that is what mithya is all about. When we say something is real, so when the Atma is Satyam and other thing as mithya, so in dream state, what we see, we know when we wake up it is all mithya. It was not real. But when you are dreaming, you don't realize it is not real. So that is what we need to learn. That is why this dream, understanding the state, the dream state is very important. Because once we understand that, then we will also understand that even in the waking state, whatever is there, that is also mithya. That is how we need to connect. So we will understand more about as we progress in the text. So we will stop here today. We will conclude with the prayer.